Okay, go.
Hi, we're in Burial Hill of Plymouth, Massachusetts. This is the second burial site of the Pilgrims. They started burying people here in about 1630. The oldest record is 1681, but in between a lot of people died, a lot of people were buried that we have no idea of where they are. But we do know John Howland. Now John Howland is our 11 times great-grandfather, and he came over on the Mayflower. He was born in 1599. And when he came over on the Mayflower, John Howland, he was an original signer of the Mayflower Compact. He was involved with the first excursion, or the first encounter with the Indians out in Eastham. He survived the first winter, had the first Thanksgiving, and he married a lady named Elizabeth Tilley. Elizabeth Tilley was also a passenger on the Mayflower. She was 13 at the time, and John had to wait 4 years till she was 17. But then they got married, and they went on and had 10 children and over 108 grandchildren. So arguably John Howland, next to John Alden, has the most descendants of all Mayflower passengers in the United States today, including the three of us right here. Me, my brother, and my other brother. And we left the sister at home.
Hi.
Okay. So John Howland actually died in Rocky Nook in 1673. They brought his body back here. And let me just read to you, because it's a little hard to read. So I'll read to you what's written on this plaque. Hold on. Hold on. It's raining, so it's really hard to get my notes out. And the plaque is really hard to see. But we will get there. Almost. We will get there. All right.
Okay. Pause.
No, then I can't redo it.
Go ahead. Read it from the. Read it from the plaque.
It's too hard to read it.
No, it's nice and wet now.
Okay. Is it still running?
Yeah.
Okay, here ended the pilgrimage of John Howland, who died February 23rd, 1673, aged above 80 years. He married Elizabeth, daughter of John Tilley, who came with him in the Mayflower, December 1620. From them are descendants, numerous posterity. He was a godly man, an all ancient professor in the wave of Christ. He was the last man that was left of these that came over on a ship called the Mayflower, that he lived in Plymouth. There's other descendants on the Mayflower who did not live in Plymouth that lived longer, but John Howland, here he is, our 11 times great-grandfather. And some of John's descendants are buried right here in this plot in Burial Hill. And a monument was erected by the John Howland Society. And on the back there's an inscription of his children, his 10 children, of whom he had with Elizabeth Tilley. In memory of the children of John and Elizabeth Tilley Howland, Pilgrims of the Mayflower. We have Lieutenant John Howland, Captain Joseph Howland, Lieutenant Jabez Howland, Ensign Isaac Howland, Desire Howland Gorin, Hope Howland Chipman, Elizabeth, Lydia, Hannah, and Ruth. Now Hope was the third daughter, it's not in order, she was the third daughter of John and Elizabeth, and she became our 9 times great-grandmother. And she married the elder John Chipman. And when they got married, they moved to Yarmouth and later on to Sandwich. And they had their own children that descended, of course, into our families. So when John Howland died in 1673, he lived up in Rocky Nook. And before he died, during the wintertime, John and Elizabeth would always frequent his son, Lieutenant Jabez Howland, who lived down here, and his house actually still exists. We'll visit it later. And after John died in 1673, His wife Elizabeth moved down to live permanently with Jabez Howland, and then their house burned down in about 1685 up in Rocky Point. And we'll visit the renovation or the excavation of their home a little bit later. So that's the story of John Howland and Elizabeth Tilley and all their children. And we'll continue down with Hope Howland Chipman and her life and their lives in Yarmouth and Sandwich. Thank you.